Good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to welcome you on to today's event on business exit and succession planning, from ownership to opportunity. My name is Carl Taylor, and also on the panel this afternoon, we've got Jerry Surtees, who is a chartered tax advisor here at Oldfield. Good, so today's event is all about business exit and succession planning, specifically for business owners that are looking to transition out of their current ventures to explore new priorities in the future.
So the first thing is to identify who your successors are going to be. Who's got the technical knowledge, who's got the customer facing skills, and who's got the leadership ability to be able to take this forward without you. And as I say, that might be one person, or more often than not, it might actually be a team of people who are going to take those roles on from you. Once you've got that, the next thing is, how are you going to provide the motivation to that team of new leaders and managers? What's in it for them? By this point, you might have some idea of what you want out of it, what you'd like to achieve from an exit. But at the same time, there's also got to be a reason for them to take it on and go on this journey with you as well. You want them to have enough in it for them to stick with you, to help you realize those plans and goals. Really, a scheme is kind of pointless if it doesn't actually incentivize the employees to act in the way you want them to, maybe just because they don't really understand what it's all about. So the communication is really, really important. The next thing coming out of that is that in order to ensure that incentive is targeted, you need an overall plan for the business. What are your goals? Where are you heading? What's your target payout? And in fact, think beyond that. So what are your life goals? What are you wanting to achieve post-exit? And then what financially do you need in order to achieve that? Then work back from here and build a plan and targets for the business that achieve those targets and goals. And then lastly, you can then build an incentive scheme that ties in with those goals and brings those key people on the journey with you. What we often find is that companies or groups have acquired assets such as property, buy-to-lets, or other investments, share portfolios and so on, that you might want to retain. And ensuring this is separated in the right way well ahead of time, so that you can effectively sell the bit that you want to sell and keep the bit that you want to keep, needs careful structuring in order to get the right tax outcome. And ultimately, you might not want to be in a position, for example, where the sale proceeds from your company sale go into a company, and you've therefore got to extract all of those profits out of the company and pay a lot of tax on that to achieve that. Much better if it can land in your hands directly, and that needs careful thought and forward planning.
Say you wanted to invest the proceeds of the sale of your shares in your current business in another business, for example, or in a property portfolio. The way you structure your business now needs to be completely different to the scenario if you wanted to use the proceeds personally for your own personal use post-exit. So, for example, if you wanted to invest the proceeds in another business, you would want to set your structure up now to allow for the proceeds of the sale to be retained in a company, in a holding company, potentially pay no tax on the proceeds of the sale, and then reinvest within a company structure, so you don't ever have to extract the funds personally and pay tax on them personally to do that. On the other hand, if you want to use the proceeds personally, you'll want to structure it differently to allow the funds to get into your hands with the minimum tax liability. It's just three key questions that often come up. So the first one here, if I'm planning to exit via a management buyout, how can I take the management team with me on the journey? We want to be transparent with them, but the more we grow, the bigger the payout they're going to have to fund. And I obviously want to maximize the value that I get ahead of my exit, but it isn't in their interests to do that. So there's kind of a bit of misalignment there. I don't know what you say on that one, Jerry.
Yeah, it's a good question. What we've done in the past in these situations is to build a plan for the business to show that by giving the employees equity now, this gives them a clear incentive to drive grow the value of the business, and importantly, that will put them in a better, stronger position with more equity than if they hadn't come on the growth journey with you. Because of the result of the growth that's achieved by coming on that growth journey and helping you to hit those goals, they've actually ended up better themselves. So this is really all about creating a win-win situation that means that the management team are essentially aligned with your goals as the exiting shareholder.
That's good. Thanks, Jerry. Next, frequently asked question we've got here. I've invested in some buy-to-let properties in my company structure, and I want to keep these post-exit. What's the best way to do that? So the key point here is that you really need to separate out the properties from the company's trading activities well ahead of an exit, to allow you to retain one and divest the other. So there's different ways of doing this depending on what you're going to want to do with the sale proceeds at the end of it. But that's in essence what you need to look at. You need to look at separating the buy-to-let properties out from the trading entity, so that they're separate, and it allows you to kind of sell one without selling the other. Getting this right is crucial because it makes an enormous amount of difference to the tax outcome at the end of it. So third key question here, I want to exit, but no one wants to buy the business and the management team don't have the funds to buy me out. What do I do? Any comments on this one, Jerry?
Yeah, so I think a management buyout would be a good option to look at in that situation, which, as we've said earlier in the presentation, involves your management team establishing a special purpose vehicle, an SPV, to buy you out. The important point is that it can be either debt funded or leveraged, or it can be funded from future profits. So in actual fact, potentially the management team don't necessarily need to have or put any of their own funds in order to achieve that exit. The other potential route would be an employee ownership trust, which essentially is a way of transferring the ownership across to your employees, to all of your employees, via a trust. And it's kind of a way of exiting without exiting, if you like. The management team, again, don't need to come up with any funds in order to achieve that buyout. And if you want to, you can carry on running the company along with the board of trustees. So some options to think about on that one if anyone's in that situation.